Hello everyone and welcome to the second game in this Tuesday player spotlight. The player of this week is the player Tim, and in this particular game he's playing against who I personally consider the third greatest Age of Empires player of all time, which is the legend Chris, or L Clan Chris, as he is known as. He is playing under the account Ben. However, I'm 100% sure this is in fact Chris from when I downloaded the game. We'll do another day on Chris. Today is Tim's day. Tim is playing as the Mongols. We have a non-mirror matchup, which was not as common in the Age of Conquerors days. Chris is in fact playing as the Britons. However, both these civilizations are pretty much identical to their Rise of Raja's counterparts as far as balance goes. Very small changes with them. And in this particular game, I'd like to highlight Tim's ability to be able to abuse the map. We saw that a little bit in the previous game. The previous game was in Arabia Hun's War, where he did have a victory over the Viper, winning the Masters of Arabia tournament. This is a game from 2010, as opposed to the last game, which was from 2012. And in the last game, where he did win that game, we saw how Tim was able to wall up his map, how he was able to secure basically every resource on the map. And that's not without kidding. It was even at one point taking the Viper's third gold and take all the relics. And in this particular game, I'd like to highlight with you how Tim likes to abuse a map. Or as some people might say it, how Tim likes to wall a map. So this certainly is a very interesting map for Tim. Could be potentially wallable here, and here. One weakness, though, of his map, the wood lines are on the outside. He is, of course, in a big crater. His third gold, his second stone are, in fact, very far from his town center. And these could be all problems that present themselves later on in the game for Tim. And just talking a little bit about the civilizations, we have a Mongols and Britons war. Both these civilizations are kind of tier 2 on Arabia at this particular time with this balance. Mongols have a good scout rush. Pretty lackluster Castle Age. And then their Imperial Age is very strong. The Mangudai were as strong as ever in Age of Conquerors. And with the British have always been formidable on Arabia. Faster working archer ranges, good Dark Age with their sheep bonus, great Castle Age with their crossbows with extra range, with their cheaper town centers, and Imperial Age is fairly solid as well. So both these civilizations, some strengths, some weaknesses. We'll see how the players decide to handle it. Tim, interestingly, going for the deer first thing instead of the berries. He, in fact, went for the deer before going for the boar. Now, the build orders at this time were pretty well established, so certainly this isn't one of those weird build order games from 2002. And take a look at Tim's scouting for this time being. So he does see he's, in fact, in a crater. Does see potentially where he might like to wall. In fact, he placed his first house here as he lured his boar. That's why the boar might have been a little bit later. So already thinking about where to wall. The question, though, is what kind of strategy do you like to do if you have a map like this? Now, there's two ways of thinking about this. You could either do your regular strategy, just go as aggressive as you normally would, and just reap the benefits of having a map that is more defensible. Nothing wrong with that. Going more aggressive might punish your opponent if they have a map that is particularly bad. Let's see if Chris's map is particularly bad. Gold is forward, that's not great. Stone is forward. Woodline is okay, berries are okay. So neither a great nor a poor map. It does have a back stone and gold. So this is a pretty average looking Arabia map for Chris. Scout's actually going to get a little too cozy with that town center. Gonna take a few extra shots. Probably should live. Yeah, we'll live. It can change your thinking on things by taking out your opponent's scout. The second mode of thinking is that, well, I've got a very good map here. Why not abuse it? Why not go up to the Castle Age real quick? Why not, why not do something that you normally wouldn't be able to do if your map was looking a little bit worse? And certainly, Tim is the player that likes to go along with the second line of thinking. So we'll see if he wants to go for a fast castle. He's, of course, got a little extra food with these deer. That'll definitely help out with any strategy he'll like to do, but particularly a fast castle. Weaknesses, though, to a fast castle. Again, the woodlines are on the outside. They are towerable. The berries are towerable. If you wall yourself in, you only have 1 gold within your base. And Tim is actually going for a very fast feudal age. So this makes better use out of his Mongols, Mongol bonus. And let's see what he decides to do with this feudal age. You're going to go with the fast feudal age like this, then of course the question is, do you add archer range after, or do you add extra farms to go up for a faster castle age? And normally you're going this fast into the feudal age, you really don't wall off this early. That's something that's very unusual in itself. So that confuses me a little bit. Why do you wall off so heavily if you're going to go so fast to the feudal age? And 2, why is the barracks not being built yet? So that is interesting as well. So there's the barracks. It will be late for scouts. You want to start the barracks when you're 60% up the way to feudal. And that scout is low from earlier. Tim's scout is low as well. I'm not sure exactly why. KD is still 0-0. So maybe Tim got a little too close to his opponent's town center as well. More walling from Tim. That is mildly annoying. Luckily, Tim did get 2 extra shots on that scout, and he's going to win that scout battle, which is great for him. More Militia Rush coming in from Chris. Again, at this time, 2010, the Dark Age Rush was the dominant strategy. You still see Dark Age rushes in today's meta, but not nearly as common as, say, maybe the Men-at-Arms rush. So 4 militia out from Chris. Unfortunately, they're going to run into 2 wolves and very big walls. And there's that stable from Tim. No urgency in putting it up, though. In fact, he's even going to task this village to wall up. So walls are more important than the scouts, apparently, at this stage of the game. Tim has lots of resources to work with, though. And walls are fully up. That militia will... Well, the wolf should go and attack the militia, deciding not to for some reason. And a few scouts out from Tim. Let's take a look at Chris's base. Chris is already taking gold. This is a fairly typical British play. Not enough resources for a fast castle. Did not go late enough up. Might have enough, though. It's going to be close. Some very big walls from Chris. We'll keep an eye on those resources, see if he's going to have enough for a fast castle. And finally, first scout out of the game for Tim. This is fairly late for the Mongols to get their first scouts out. Tim has got the horse collar upgrade, though, so his farms are nice and efficient. That might have been that one wolf over there. And so far, the Dark Age Rush from Chris being fairly ineffective. Merely just being able to get out a little bit of scouting information. Perhaps they could be effective at getting through this wall. Might be worth it to upgrade to Men-at-Arms and add a Spearman. Composition. Tim, just gonna stonewall behind. Tim is not someone that is afraid of stone walls. You'll often see him stonewalling behind palisades. And I'm just walking around with the scouts at the moment. Not really finding too much to do. Might decide to battle these militias back at home. Not surprisingly, we have 2 archery ranges coming forward. And archers will be on their way out. So Chris did not have enough resources for a fast castle. And there we go. Tim going to clean up those militia. The militia were targeting the palisade for too long. Oh, thanks for the host, MBL. Very much appreciated. It's the second time you've hosted me this week. I appreciate it. Appreciate it very much. And if you're just joining us from MBL's channel, what I'm doing, this is a Tuesday spotlight on a particular player. Game 1 was the Masters of Arabia in 2012 versus TheViper, where I highlighted how Tim likes to be very efficient in his playstyle. This particular game, I'm highlighting how Tim likes to abuse his map. So every week we'll be doing a series of 3 games highlighting different themes of particular players. One week, of course, we'll do MBL, but it won't be this week. And this particular game is from 2010, where he's playing the legend Chris. So Tim moving back and sees the exposed gold of Chris. And this is pretty cool. So Chris did lose his scout from earlier on in the game. Tim is actually building his archery ranges in the back. This is also something you see him do quite a bit. He likes to stonewall behind it and build his military buildings kind of out of view. Now, it wouldn't matter anyway because Chris, of course, lost his scout. However, this could come as a surprise to another player, not expecting archers in the situation. Oftentimes, the Mongols might go with a ton of farms and then just go knights later on. And right now, Tim not over-investing into scouts. He's just built 5. He's not going to build any more. Obviously, Chris is scared of these scouts as he's built 4 spearmen to help defend his very unprotected gold. I suspect once he gets the fletching upgrade, should be able to move out, maybe bring one of the spearmen with him. And there we go. So going to move out right now. This is where Tim could be at a little bit of a disadvantage as he just put up his archery range right now. He's invested into farms very heavily. So his opponent has a military advantage now. And remember, those woodlines are fairly exposed. These berries are fairly exposed. Perhaps maybe the archers can reach just a little bit. Probably not. They probably don't have the range. Tim is just going to keep roaming around. He has the mobility, of course. Looks like it's still open here for Chris. And now Tim going up to the next stage. So certainly because he's got a very wallable map, added a lot of farms early, able to go to the next stage faster, even though he is still doing the archer transition. These scouts just trying to be annoying. Hopefully Tim will see a tide. Oh no, he's going to take a few hits. Yeah, going to lose 1 scout there. Still not paying attention. Might lose a second. That one was very close. Archers are not yet within range. However, a tower coming up. This will take quite some time for this tower to come up. However, can be very effective because remember, again, those wood lines pretty exposed. Now going over to earlier in the game, how Chris could maybe have played this game a little bit better. He had the military advantage with 4 militia early on. All of these wood lines are exposed. Sometimes if you like to go with a Dark Age Rush, you can upgrade them to man-at-arms. You can add a few spearmen and then add towers. That certainly would have been very effective, both because the wood lines are hittable by towers, and because Tim was so slow in getting out his first scouts. Old Tim is back. So here comes those 3 builders finally making their way across the map. I would not have made this decision as I thought it would have been a little bit too late to send villagers across. But of course Chris is the expert and not me. And see how it works for him. Now this is the surprise for him. This is the surprise for Chris. These archer ranges, again, they were built way behind the walls. No way Chris could have known that Tim was building archers. In fact, Chris probably thinks that Tim is waiting for knights and holding out. So these archers will come as a big surprise. Tim has abused his map. Now it's time for Tim to take advantage of Chris's map. Chris's 1 exposed area. The wood line looks safe. Berries look safe. Back resources are safe. The one area that is exposed is this gold. And had Chris known archers were on the way, then perhaps he would have added the tower. And this is a very bad timing for Chris. Crossbow and bodkin arrow being researched right now. This could do a lot of damage. Check back at the bottom. Tower's actually not going up for Tim. That's unfortunate for him, and in fact he's going to lose 2 villagers. So a little bit of damage both ways. Spearman taking out the scouts. There's only 4 crossbows left. However, they are doing quite a bit of damage. Those archers just going to run away. They don't want to handle the crossbows. A little bit of missed micro. And now Chris is off of gold. Villager count. Ooh, boy. Village count still heavily in favor for Chris, so maybe 3, 4 for the advance up to the next stage, but 2 or 3 deaths here. A lot of deaths, actually. Oh my god. A lot of deaths on that tower that didn't go up. AD right now, 19 to 10. Important thing, though, Chris is off of gold. He does have the gold in the back, though. And more unusual walls. Chris. Yes, this game is from 2010. Woodline's looking particularly bad as far as saturation goes. Finally looks like Mangonel out from Tim. Now this is such a difficult situation. This would be very lucky though if Chris is able to pick off at least one of these archers with the town center. That's exactly what he needs. Yeah, there you go. This is a particularly difficult situation if you're Chris. You need to be able to take out these crossbows because they're doing so much damage. But of course the crossbows have the extra range. Hopefully Chris can get a little lucky. So retreating with these villagers is not really an option. Gonna cause too much delay. And it looks like Chris might get a little lucky here and pick out these crossbows. If he takes out these crossbows, should have the military advantage. In fact, he already does have the military advantage. It's going to go up to about 30 to 15. And that gives him some hope in this game. As Chris is ready to click up to the next stage, has defended so far, might have to defend from another wave at his gold. It's really debatable whether this this aggression was worth it. I think it was, especially with the misplay of losing so many villagers onto the tower. This is a lot of resources invested in the Siege Workshop and the Mangonel. It is, in fact, the Mangonel. It's a battering ram and a Mangonel. So I think this was a pretty good play from Chris. Spotlight Tuesday can be old games or new games. We'll definitely have probably a mix of both. Depends on the particular player and whatnot. I think next week we might spotlight the player Vivi, and certainly I'll be using some newer games for that. This is a 2600 plus ELO, actually. Pretty hard to imagine at this time in 2010. Nice crossbow raid from Tim, however, is losing a lot of his crossbows to some archers. Another villager going to go down, so that's what, 5 or 6 villagers, maybe 7. However, just trading off army for villagers. Now this could be a little bit of a pickle though for Chris. I'm sorry, for Tim. Tim has got the villager advantage. He's certainly got the economy advantage at this stage of the game. However, these are about to be British crossbows, and it's 26 to 9 military count right now. With all of these very exposed wood lines, is it worth it to be able to go after your opponent's villagers for an exchange of giving them such a heavy military lead with such a strong military as the British have? That is a good question. Looks like the Spearman will be able to get the battering ram. And tower does go up. Here we go, Bodkin arrow. Crossbow should be on the way. Looks like Chris might have a little trouble affording that. Town center coming up because they are nice and cheap. Chris needs to get back his gold income. He's certainly not taking enough gold to produce archers. And here we go. Chris is going to hit back now. Crossbow upgrade coming in. Even a Siege Workshop already up. Already ready to pile on the pressure. Now 3 archer ranges in the back. Tim has lost most of his army, needs to replace it. I would definitely go into elite skirmishers in this situation. Going against a British player. And a little bit of misfire as those crossbows definitely getting way too close to those British archers. And going to lose quite a few on the way back. So now the score's evening up a little bit. Still 10 villager advantage for Tim. This is old Tim better than the current one. It's hard to say. It's hard to say. Tim is playing at a high level even today. Really had some good games against Leary the other week. Crossbow's finally going to make use out of that bad wood line. Gonna pick off plenty of villagers. 4 villagers down. And that was with ballistics as well. Tim's gonna try to do a little damage over here. Oh my god! Chris getting a bit X now. That's terrible. That is terrible. Oh boy. Ballistics could certainly help out Chris quite a bit. Manganos getting made though. This could be certainly a very strong push down the hill. Be able to take out the tower in an instant. This wood line is rangeable by anything. And I question Tim's decision not to make Elite Skirmisher. I think that would be a very strong upgrade. Of course, they were a little bit more expensive to produce because the upgrade was a little more expensive back in these days. It's still a worthwhile decision. Let's see the micro from Chris. Oh! Okay, able to take it. And should be able to hold that position. So Chris has cleaned up the threat from Tim. Going to move back his crossbows back into the middle of the map. Looks like a castle could be on its way. Chris has been on the stone since the early Castle Age. Or late Feudal Age. A castle would be very devastating on this particular map. Remember, forward gold, forward stone, crater, 2 wood lines, very exposed. Not a lot of areas to run for Tim. And let's see how this Megano dance goes. Not too good for Tim. And with all this extra army, certainly, if Chris wants to make a castle, he can place it wherever he wants. Tim, interestingly, making a transition to knights. Does he have a stable? He's got the 1 stable in the back. I assume he'll add more stables. Yeah, even with Chris not looking, this is not going to be a particularly effective Megano. And there we go. That should be enough stone for castle. Might be unlucky here, though. Oh, Tim just barely not going to notice it. Going to only get 1 or a few villagers here. A little slow reaction from Chris. And now going to move back. So it looks like this might be the location of the castle. As all these villagers come forward. The nice thing, though, with using all these villagers, you can take your opponent's gold, which will be great later on in the game. Now remember how Tim placed all of his military buildings behind his walls? Again, he's placed the stables behind the walls where his opponent can't see his transition. Again, I really don't agree with this army composition. I would have gone with the lead skirmishers before I went knights. Although it's pretty obvious that the crossbows are not working. Except for raiding. Looking for another small raid here. Not really going to find anything. And there goes that castle. So that is a great castle. Chris. More knights coming out. They're pretty decently upgraded, but again, these are British crossbows. But what does Tim do in this situation? He's still looking for raiding. He's actually going to lose all of his army here. Or at least he should. It's pretty close. There are 2 skirmishers in there. It's going to be very close. No more micro needed. Yeah. So Chris is going to win that. Tim only basically with this army of knights will be able to take out 2 battering rams. Not a big deal. Town center coming up for Chris. Chris has the map control now. Has control over basically 2 wood lines. Tim is not even really taking wood from this wood line. However, Tim is ready to go up to the next age, and he does have a castle on his own, so maybe we'll be able to get a defensive castle and trebuchets. This is a very defensive playstyle from Tim. He's not going to go with the siege workshop and battering rams and tons of knights. No, he's going to wait till Imperial Age and say, you know what? I don't think you're able to breach these walls. I don't think you're able to come in here and do any more damage. I've got everything I need within these walls, at least for the time being. Now, of course, he'll have to push out, have to get another gold, have to have better saturation on his wood. But maybe he'll be able to accomplish that in Imperial Age. And I'm going to try to go back with these knights for now. Here we go, castle coming up. Obviously the walls are breached, but the castle is going to come in a good location. Is it going to be a doubt castle, though? Was doubt castle even a thing at this time? Probably not. 3 down. I don't know if the ballistics upgrade came in. I don't think it did. So Chris is going to save his crossbows at the expense of not killing more villagers. Here we go. Tim up to the next age. Has some good food, some good gold, pretty poor wood, extremely poor wood. Trying to do a little bit of raiding with these knights. The army composition in the late game is pretty interesting. For the Mongols, elite skirmishers will not have the last armor upgrade. Cavalier will not have the last armor upgrade. Neither of those are particularly viable against late game arbalest from the Britons. Of course, their siege is good, but their siege requires what? A lot of wood, a lot of gold. Tim does not have a lot of that. Mengadai are good, but you're going to need at least 2 castles, and again, they'll require a lot of wood, a lot of gold. Let's see if Tim's at least able to get a lucky mangonel shot. No. No way. No way, sir. Another castle coming up from Chris. Again, excellent castle position. Nowhere for Tim to run. And in fact, that'll help threaten the wood as well. Just place a few crossbows right there. And no more wood for Tim. Now, wood is the most important resource in Age of Empires, too. With wood, you make farms, you make buildings. You can't do anything without wood. So this is a big deal if Tim is not able to take his wood line. He's going to migrate all of his wood choppers, move them over where, though? To build a market. Over in the middle of the map, losing most of the knights. So Tim has really got invested into these trebuchets. They're basically the only thing he's really hoping for. Will they be enough for him to claw back this game, though? Let's see. We'll have to use the market to buy a little bit of wood, maybe sell a little food. He wants a second one. There we go. And we should see the first trebuchet pop out. Here it comes. At this point, I think Elite Skirmisher would be the best option, at least as a transitional unit. Instead, it looks like Tim is going to continue investment to knights. In fact, going for the Mongol Cavalier is something very unusual. That last armor upgrade really is not that great. But they should do well as long as Chris is still in the Castle Age. So gold has run out. Food is fine. Let's check the market price. Food, you could sell it for 70, so that's decent. Tim just has no other purpose for these villages other than to get wood. Maybe he'll try to move out over here. So Tim is at least going to wait for that Cavalier upgrade. And when this castle goes down, maybe can take a little wood. Maybe not. Cavalier almost done. Tim is, of course, going to go with the easy pickings, which will be these crossbows on the left side. Nice job from Chris, though, in not just holding his position, but also trying to push in where he can. Cavalier's done. The HP pool and the attack will be good enough to clear that up. And Chris is just going to repair that castle to buy a little bit of time. He's planning not, of course, of using longbowmen, but just this position. The longer he stays in this position, the more beneficial it is to him. And every second is another second that Chris is able to catch up in the military count to upgrade his units. Catch up in the technology count, of course. And Chris is stealing Tim's third gold. So castle down to almost halfway. Unfortunately, Tim doesn't look like he could have afforded a second trebuchet. Second trebuchet would help out a ton here. Cavalier are on the bottom. We're going to pick off a Mangonel. Don't want to lose those Cavalier, though. Don't want to run under another castle, either. Or do you? Maybe he's going to go for the villagers. Yeah, going to go for the villagers. Take the Mangonel, of course, though. And probably going to attack the castle, maybe. We're going to go for the Rams, okay. So that castle's now going to go down. There's no more repairers on it. Villager number is surprisingly even. I know that Chris has handcart now, so certainly his economy is a little bit better. I'm a little surprised at why Chris doesn't have more villagers. Maybe he wanted to go up to the castle age faster. It's only 2 town centers. There's a third one down here, too. I'm a little confused. These Cavalier are so low, though. I would love to see a monk to heal them up, just like last game. They're not going to accomplish too much raiding. HP pool is that low. And something interesting. So, again, Chris, chosen this map, has gone with the faster castle age. Could have gave him an advantage, but did not play his cards right as far as his army control. So he's played his map to some of his advantage. And he's going to try to abuse the map a little bit more. He's found this gold over on the right side, and he's going to move all the way across the map over to this extra gold. And this is what you have to do. You're stuck in a corner, you have to get out of your corner. Sometimes you have to take risks and go with a migration with your villagers and hope it pays off. That's just what you have to do sometimes. Now some players, they might, some players like myself would would not want to take that risk, but not doing so might lose you the game. As Tim is going to need gold to win this game. He's going to need space, too. This is a lot of space where he can place farms. Here, there's not so much space he can place farms. There's tons of buildings in this area. So castle is down. However, a trebuchet did pop out, which is important. Tim only has 2 trebuchets. Again, it's hard for him to afford gold. And now it's important for Tim to go target that other castle. 2 trebuchets out, though. This is going to be a great raid for Tim, though. Going to pick off quite a few villagers. Even up the villager count, maybe down to only a 10 villager lead for Chris. Again, he does have handcart, though. A repikeman is made, so these Cavalier won't be very effective, especially... Oh, don't lead him to your town center! Don't lead him to your town center! Okay. Chris... Tim's a little greedy. He's getting both of these gold mines. You take this one, then maybe your opponent wouldn't notice, but you take this one? I'm not exactly sure. But that's a lot of gold income from Tim, when really he should have none. Chris probably thinks he has none. So third trebuchet going to deploy. These 2 are, of course, on the hill. The Arbalests are going to defend these trebuchets very well. However, if Tim could somehow win this trebuchet battle, he'll certainly be in a much better position for this game. Finally, Elite Skirmisher being made. This might be the key for Tim. You know, maybe we could see Siege Ram as well with Drill now that we have a good gold income. The wood income definitely needs to improve, though. I think that's the thing that's really keeping him behind. That range is insane. Is this far? What is this mill? And yeah, this town center will definitely help out with that wood income. Oh boy, losing 2 trebuchets. However, the castle did go down, so that is good. But at least Tim's not, you know, boxed in with castles. He's instead boxed in with his opponent's military. Oh boy, Tim making wheelbarrow now. That's, yeah. Chris's economy is leaps and bounds ahead. However, tons of gold income for Tim. He probably doesn't know what to do with it. He's got so much gold he doesn't know what to do. Maybe buy some wood. Wonder what the wood buy price is. Yeah, wood buy is 130, so not the greatest. No one's sold wood yet. Oh, I hate seeing that. That's the worst. Okay, so Tim, he's got his wood economy sorted through. He's got his gold economy sorted through. Although he's losing this gold now, I think he really needs to invest into some really strong military. Obviously, it's not going to be cavalry based as we have halberdiers already out. So I think skirmisher would be the appropriate option. Might even want to buy a little bit of wood to get things going a little faster. Castle looks like it's going to go down. I would try to repair that. And it's important to note, even though Tim has been losing, he should ideally have no map control in this match. He's still trying. Still trying to get map control. Trying to take these golds. This has certainly kept him in the game a little bit longer. Trying to take this wood over on the right side. Trying to expand out. That is what you have to do in these situations. You can't be content just staying in your own little base. We'll have to see something as far as military on the field for Tim eventually. Arbalest going to move in through the front. That's not so good. That is... man. That is not going to do anything against these Arbalest. Halberdier's not raiding at the right side. Not looking so good for Tim. Trebuchet's going to move out down the middle. Take out a lot of these military production buildings, splitting the base in half. If Chris had another castle, that would be incredible. Trebuchet's focusing on the right side. So that's going to be... man, that's about a third of Tim's economy. Maybe a fourth. That could potentially go down on the right side. Yeah, it's really impressive he held that long with his army, fighting uphill. And that is a decent amount of Cavalier, and maybe if they had the +4 upgrade, they would fare better. Let's see if they're able to take out these Arbalests. I would send a few to go in front of the Arbalest to hopefully cut them off. Get a better saturation on them. However, those few Halberdier are going to make it much more difficult. Okay, so Tim took out the Trebuchets. He's still got this problem on the top side. Yeoman now being upgraded to make his Arbalest even stronger. And once again, not staying in his own base, not defending with Cavalier, but instead going to try to go out for a raid. Here comes that Bracer upgrade. I still haven't seen very many Elite Skirmishers, which, you know, again, I would love to see that a lot earlier. But certainly Tim's economy hasn't been right. Gonna move over to the top side. If he takes this engagement, he's gonna lose a lot of Cavalier. Instead, just gonna go for the Trebuchet. Gonna get that. And then there's really nothing else to do with these Cavalier. Can try to go for a raid. There's a castle here. This looks fully walled, actually. So can't get in there. Maybe could try this town center. But the army is pretty close. And look at the map now. Just red streaming in from every angle. Tim forced against the edge of the map. Here's the castle. Castle's going to take out this bit of economy. And a castle here on the bottom wood line. Normally, you'd never place a castle this close to the edge of the map with no gold or stone around. However, Chris definitely knows how important this this wood is to Tim. They're not just going to place a tower, going to place a whole castle. Look at the wood lines. No wood here, no wood here. This castle is definitely going to threaten this wood line if Chris wants to bring a few Arbalests forward. What is this? Tim seeding farms in the north side of the map. That's pretty funny. And otherwise, you know, Chris would never notice that. Why would Chris ever look in that corner? No reason. Handcart finally being made by Tim. Tim managed to win this. Yes, you're about to see the most incredible comeback in the history of Age of Empires. How lucky are you guys? There isn't a lot to be said right now. I mean, the only thing keeping Tim in this game are these Cavalier, which can get some good trades like this if they're in the right place at the right time. Maybe even pick off a few trebuchets. But really what they're doing is kind of delaying the inevitable. They could never go to toe-to-toe with the Halberdier or with the Arbalest. Not only because Tim doesn't have the resources to replace them, but also because these are pretty weak Cavalier. Now Capgram coming out. That should be the killing blow. Chris could, of course, take back his golds, or these extra golds. I'm pretty happy these farmers were able to collect their resources, though. They're able to have nice, happy lives, despite where they came from. They're kind of refugees. 3 relics, 3 castles, my bad, for Chris. And Tim just gonna resign. No GG, just resign. So I hope you enjoyed this game. As I said, there's always going to be at least one game in the series where the player we're showing will lose, just so you guys aren't sure who's going to win or who's going to lose. I thought this game was a decent demonstration of Tim's ability to, even when he's pushed against the edge of a map, to able to try to take map control. Certainly he abused his map in the early game, going for a faster castle age, although that didn't exactly pan out for him. But he did abuse his map with stone walls, with walling extra early on, walling out the Dark Age rush. Abused his opponent's map by going for his gold early on. And was able to luckily build out his economy towards the side, give him a good chance in this game. So hopefully that'll demonstrate the second theme I would like to point out about Tim's playstyle is great map awareness. And in the third game, we'll look at the last part of the last theme of Tim's playstyle, which will be either full defensive or, in this case, full aggressive in the next game. We'll see that soon.